Hiya, and welcome back to Cleaved, the game that teaches us that the best method to get access to the location you want is to light a book on fire. I don't know. Anyways, we gotta start a new game for this, because I already deleted the old saves. So, yeah! Wait, do we gotta reread all this? Okay. I'm forcefully awoken from my sleep. Book arson, hell yeah. I hear an alarm ringing off in the distance, an incessant siren to notify all personnel on site of an imminent accident. I fall from my unmade bed, scrambling to grab some clothing. I quickly slip on a shirt, trousers, shoes, and nab my glasses. Maybe this won't be a short stream. As I run to the door, I grab my lab coat and finally step outside of my cramped room. While the university may have been large, it was certainly not generous with its student housing. Thankfully, it didn't take me long to rush past the security doors and other frantic students and personnel. They were either trying to escape the premises or direct the flow of traffic out of the building. My fellow students can only imagine what kind of accident has occurred to set off alarms at our prestigious university. Yet this curiosity does not deter them. I am fortunate enough to count myself amongst these students. I am even more fortunate that my chosen field of research is one that has received a lot of press from both my colleagues and my professors. I was happy to have my colleagues be so interested in the success of my project, however, it quickly turned into a necessity rather than a passion. And maybe my work became less about furthering my own ideas and more about others deciding the results of what I did. Hang on, let me actually put on my glasses. I should be wearing them. I should be wearing them. I'm gonna put them on. Fucking old man. I've seen a real-life lab coat. No, like an engineering lab coat. I've seen one. They're cool as hell. As miserable as I've been, falling more and more into this cesspit that they'd created with this incessant urge to check off their lists, I guess I was happy to know that it was nearly done. However, this knowledge made the current situation all the more infuriating. The second I thought I was finally onto something, my work was about to blow up in my face. Literally. Fortunately, I finished my long run past the east side of the student housing, and finally make it to the physics center. Looking around the open foyer, an abundance of scattered papers and upturned office equipment meet my gaze. The building's been completely evacuated. But I have to make it! My throat burns from yelling that as I make it to the elevator door, slamming my fist into the panel. Sub-level 3. Gotta get there. Fast! Shit! As redundant as that word is, it's all I can say as I'm faced with the situation before me. Well, shit. In the center of the room stands my machine, a construct made with the intention of exploring the furthest edges of reality. Cost me almost everything here. Time, space, money, friendships, but there it was. And as I suspected, something's wrong. How did this happen? I made sure to shut it down. There shouldn't be power in any of the segments. Suddenly, like a macabre puppet show, loose objects get yanked into the air and are consumed by the ever-growing expanse of a wormhole. Okay, shit, the emergency shutdown switch, it's the only thing that could override whatever is powering. My train of thoughts derails as ceiling panels fall down and are absorbed into the growing mass before me. It's getting stronger! My careful planning is replaced by frantic movements, my limbs moving on autopilot to salvage my pride and joy. The longer I take, the worse it'll get. I rush over to the main console and unlock the generator room, an admittedly dusty room, one I never cared to clean. Pushing myself aside, I grab a breaker switch and move it to deactivate the machine's primary power supply. What the? Auxiliary power? My machine had emergency backup power in the event of a blackout, connected to a separate generator. This was so it could draw necessary power during tests, though it's always left off when it's not being used. The emergency power had been turned on. My heart sinks. I burst into a sprint to the other circuit breaker, gripping the handle, and I wrench it down to shut down the machine. Nothing. My machine isn't turning off. It's still sparking, creating alert after alert. Warning, danger detected. I can't stop this cataclysm. The wormhole has accumulated too much energy. Where did it all go wrong? How did it all go wrong? I stare into the cause of my imminent demise. My mind wanders off into a string of thoughts. It makes my back shiver and my eyesight becomes cloudy. Damn it, am I crying? I think back to Wally's ideas on how to design global telecommunications that wouldn't rely on satellites. Remember how Caitlin would show me her progress on genetically engineered bacteria to aid brain development and controlled mutation. She said it was her attempt at curing diseases. And then Sanders. Never spoke to him much, but he was a true scientist. The crazy bastard was doing his best to combine various dangerous elements to see if he could create an infinitely renewable clean energy source. I remember how I met everyone. It was a big series of highs and handshakes, except for Sanders. What did he say back then? I understand that we'll be working in Lab 16 together, correct? Hiya. Know that my work is very dangerous. I've requested there be a lockdown button installed on the inside and outside of the slab. It'll lock down the blasted room in the event of an explosion. The materials are designed to absorb kinetic energy, so while there's no guarantee it should help. Why is there one on the inside? In case we can't get out and need to play the hero, that's why. You can't change someone else's life until you're willing to sacrifice your own. Wise words, Sanders. A tad too pessimistic for my liking. But wise words nonetheless. A heavy scratching sound drags me back from the thoughts of better times. I duck out of the way as a catwalk above me is torn from its hinges and dragged across the floor toward the portal. I guess I don't have a choice. Sanders' mantra comes to the forefront of my mind. I dry my tears, snapping myself back to reality. Something needs to be done, right? While there may be no guarantee, if I can at least engage the lockdown, there's a chance of mitigating it. I use the desk as braces and force myself over to the wall. Fuck, come on! One final push, my fist meets the lockdown button. Metallic shutters drop across the doorways, windows, and walls, sealing me in this tomb. Flashbang. God help me. It's cold. So by starting off the reactor's power system early, you get involved to try and stop it, and you set off a new chain of events. Hey, wait a second. Are you awake? Well, this was unexpected. Listen, I don't mean to interrupt, whatever this is, but I need you to do something for me. This chain of events is getting more and more stretched thin. With all due respect, you might be on the verge of losing yourself. Before you doze off, I need you to remember your name. For both of us. Bryn. So that's what your name is. It's been so long, I honestly couldn't remember. Yeah, we already read all that. Fuck off, Windows. My eyes jolt open and my gaze spins wildly around this strange, unfamiliar place. I'm still not entirely sure what happened. I engaged lockdown in time, right? Then the reactor exploded and I saw a bright light. Throbbing pain surges in my head as I struggle to remember it all. Damn it, what the hell happened? The explosion should have killed me. I should be dead, but I'm here. Wherever the hell here is. Hiya. I felt pointless to think of it. The sensation of cold grasping my body combined with my own anxiety. I can barely think straight. Oh, same. I'm hyperventilating. The numbing cold was unbearable. It felt like death. I want to get to there. Damn it! I hope to whatever god there is, this is a nightmare. Or potentially the delusion of a fracturing psyche. All I can think to do is repeat the bits of information I knew to keep myself together. I pull the weathered remnants of my coat together, heaving to keep myself warm as I snap back to reality. I can't fight off the cold dread any longer. So cold out here. So cold. And everything fades away as consciousness leaves me. An uncanny and unfamiliar chorus of chirping and tweeting fills my ears, and I can't help but groan. I wake up and launch myself onto my feet. Despite my better conscience, lightheaded, I fall to my knees, using my hands to stabilize myself on the ground. Trying once again, only this time much slower, I stand up and look around, confused. I'm in the clearing of a forest. Seeing the sun in the sky shining through the gap in the canopy above me was comforting. However, that cold place, was any of that real? And if so, why can't I remember why I'm in these woods? Am I forgetting something? Panic creeps up my spine as I climb up the bank of a small crater-like divot I find myself in. The grass presses up against my skin, a nice break from the feeling of nothingness that surrounded me before. The air is cold, bitter even. It's not unbearable, but given the current state of my clothes, they don't do much to keep me warm. Ugh, okay, need to get my bearings. I examined my glasses, checking the lens for damage. Damn, there's a fair crack, but I reckon I can still use these. Oh, wait. My phone! Oh, thank God! Suppose it still functions as well. A phone. Flashlight, camera, notepad. It's better than nothing. Ah! The timer reads 0000 January 1st, 1970. You reset. Okay, that's not right. Take a look around me before heading north, or at least in the direction I believe is north. The woodland brush is thick, the trees are large and overgrown. It's rather peaceful, save for my own pants cutting across the sounds of nature. I can see my breath appear in front of me with each thick exhalation. A reminder of just how cold it truly is. I really need to get something warmer. This damned coat's really not going to last in these conditions. As I reach the bottom of the hill, my eyes dart about the surrounding vegetation to see if there's a direct path out of the tree line. To my shock, there isn't. But in this field of shrubs, a lot of the flora is familiar. Nettles, clovers, nothing too out of the ordinary considering the types of foliage you'd find on the university grounds. Although there are these specks of blue among it all, which piques my interest. Look closer to see a blue flower that I was not at all familiar with. Something like this wouldn't have grown naturally on university grounds, and its tall bloom must mean it's in season. Surprising considering the temperature. I picked one and examined the blue petals up close. An azure beauty, something that wouldn't be ignored in a florist, perhaps. Thoughts for another time, maybe. I discard it, continuing my walk out of the forest. Sniff the flower. Put it in your nose. Okay. I guess we are sticking a flower in our nose. Okay, then. As my legs stumble over the overgrown roots of the trees, my eyes are glued to the sky, trying to see if I can get a good glance of the sun through the canopy. I can only guess that it's sometime around midday, judging by the shadows, meaning I've missed the whole morning. Coincidentally, it would also mean... Stomach growls. Aw, I missed breakfast. An audible groan escapes my lips as I add hungry to my list of personal problems. Nothing better to do, I contemplate foraging for berries or other foodstuffs. When I want to disturb my stomach with a wild berry, to which I don't know the effects of, it's best to consider alternative options. So deep in thoughts that I don't clock my leg whacking along a thick root, causing me to tumble and roll forward into an old tree. Setting myself upright, I take my frustration out on the bark, bashing the side of my fist into it, only for a pain to smash onto my skull, leaving a nasty ache. Oh, fuck you, tree! I finish rubbing my head in pain and glare at the ground, wanting to see what the hell hit me. It's an apple. Hi, and welcome back to Smash Your Pass Medieval Times Edition. Yellowed, almost golden actually, a bit bruised and clearly unripe, but an apple nonetheless. I'm sorry, tree. I take a bite, the skin flaking in my mouth as the familiar sour taste coats my tongue. Tart. Very tart, but it's better than starving. I stand up, appreciating my changing luck, and continue on my march, but again, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Okay, Bryn. What do we remember? I remember heading to my research lab. Something there blew up, a big flash of light. I almost froze to death before a voice and more bright lights distracted me. Another sigh escapes me. Yeah, because that'll make sense. God, I sound like I belong in a fucking institution. Let's just hope this is a vivid dream. I exit the tree line and find a well-worn path that leads to the gate I'd seen from the hillside. Another minute or so and I notice myself getting closer and closer to the city. And this is exactly how we get killed. The few shops and stalls they have outside these walls seem abandoned. Rickety, unkept. A few wooden frames clearly rotting. No one occupies them and there's no commotion out front. Yet their equipment remains placed. Weird. Seeing no one at the gate, I press onward, walking through the old stonework. It's rather impressive to see the stones are put together with some sort of high-quality concrete or mortar. They were tall and hairy with tails? I looked down at the apple, questioning if the odd flavor had something to do with what I was seeing. My panicked expression draws attention from one of these creatures, not even 2 meters away from me. Gods of the realm! What is that? Guards! Guards, come quick! I immediately back away as I see a crowd form. Mothers holding back their children, men giving me disgusted looks, and young lads who are simply puzzled. Oh no, we arrived at a furry convention. Run. Oi, beast! You better have those nasty paws of yours raised by the count of 3 or I'm gonna gut you. I let out a gasp as I finally get a good look at these beasts' faces. Muzzles, long fur, and in this case a nasty, intimidating snarl. Not unlike that of a wolf. As if on instinct, I follow their commands in a somewhat ironic scenario, swiftly raising my hands to look less threatening. I watch them slowly press in, walking toward me in a driven way. Quit your bloody rambling, freak! On your knees! You're going to the dungeon! I freeze up, honestly scared of what these beasts are going to do to me. Hey! Hi, Fraser. Yeah, we had to. I deleted the save. I deleted the save that we needed. I deleted it. Plus, we want to be safe. He spoke quickly, but with a sense of urgency that let me know I was in true danger if I stayed here any longer. Okay, unknown stranger. I take this as my cue to run, and I break into a sprint to chase after my rescuer. Who are you? My lungs are on fire, my speech interrupted by deep breaths as we round corner after corner. After passing what looks like a market square, we reach a large strip. Before I get a chance to answer his question, I hear the sounds of footsteps behind me. Against my better judgment, I turn my head and see that one of the guards has slowly began to catch up to me. My eyes go wide as I consider my options. The fox leans in and grabs the apple caper out of my hand. He then picks up the pace, getting a good distance ahead of me. He could go even faster?! With the grace of an acrobat, he jumps and spins around midair to face the guard behind us. Using as much force as possible, he throws the core. I turn to watch his trajectory perfectly align with the guard's demented face. He recoils in pain as his momentum is cut short, falling over and colliding with the ground. Impressed, I turn my head to look at the fox. Simply shoots me a wink back before changing the subject. Look, we can save the questions for later. All you need to know is I'm trying to save your arse. Now! Why am I laughing? I don't know. That... Why is Skilled making me laugh? Like if we look right here, we got Skilled running through. Why is that making why do I find that so funny? Why do I find Skilled so funny? That is a snazzy lab coat. We sit like that for a good 5 minutes as the sounds of footsteps pass us by and slowly begin to fade away. Okay. All that can be heard now are the humble sounds of an active market. It honestly depends who you ask. Ask the wolves and they'll tell you you're in the proud kingdom of Oxheimer. He lets out a frustrated sigh and walks over to the entrance of the alleyway. After seeing many armed guards patrolling the streets, he tucks his head back in. What's a smoke bomb gonna do for us? Panicked, I back away as he spins it in his paw at a right angle. What? No. What? Fuck yeah, I took you seriously. I was about to piss myself. What the fuck? The fox's form is admirable. I can only imagine the impressive physique hidden under his clothing. Mate. He raises his paw and snaps his fingers to pull me out of my daze. Come on, we've got sewer spelunking to do. Fan-fucking-tastic. You do it a few times, you'll get used to it too. You'll float too. I see. Say, how did you know I had that apple? Pardon? The apple you hucked at the guard's face. Oh, right. Sorry, I was running on a lot of adrenaline when I did that. But I suppose it's thanks to my nose. I didn't mute myself. No, I didn't. Situations like that always have my nose working overtime, and there was no mistaking the smell of that apple you were munching. I see. You must have a real strong nose, then. He gets the job done. Another chuckle escapes him before I think about what'll happen next. Okay. So, what'll happen after we get to that safe house of yours? Being in the city isn't as safe as you might think, unfortunately. After we get you sorted, we'll see if I can sneak us out back by the east gate and get into Old Town. Maybe try and pass you off as some weird naked mole rat. That sounds disgusting. Don't tell me I've just fallen into... That's just great! I groan and pick myself up from the ground. Okay, asshole. Discord kitten reach. God damn. Oops, shitty pool. Oh no! Hey, phrase, answer me something, would you, with honesty? I'll do my best, no promises, though. While I won't deny the credit that is due to the architects, the individuals in current power are nothing but entitled, self-centered pricks. The rightful citizens of this kingdom have been left in squalor and hardship, just plagued with constant taxes, harassment, and the forced belief that we should be grateful to the wolves who invaded these lands. They just want to live a lavish lifestyle without thinking of the consequences that will be paid forward by the people beneath them. I know your time here has been short, but people like me have been experiencing this kind of harassment you face today for years, and we've never had a chance to combat it. The lucky few that are able to get into the nicer parts of the city are still scrutinized, and I feel that this kingdom needs individuals that will challenge these notions and do what's truly best for all the people of this land. I'd like to think I'm one of those individuals. I work with some people in one of the inns in Old Town. There will be a time where I can recall the tales of the snowball land the wolves came from. But for now, we've reached my hideout, so let's focus on getting ourselves out of this place, and maybe I'll tell you some over a hearty drink. Boop all the snoots. I'll be enacting stage 2 of my escape plan. I'm going to head down to the closing market stalls to see if I can't find you some kind of shawl or cloak to wrap around that pretty little head of yours. The fox seems genuinely taken aback, as if he hadn't expected me to disagree with his plan. The night sky, combined with thick plants, act as the perfect cover for us to slip past any guards on patrol, as well as any nearby civilians. And that's why we use the tunnel systems. Satisfied by his own confidence, I return with a gaze of unamusement by rolling my eyes. Damn, he's fast. Now faced with a moment of rest, I fall over, fully embracing the uncomfortable yet sturdy floor. I look down at my arm, specifically at the tattered sleeves of my lab coat. Yet as my teary eyes proved from the sudden jolt of pain, this truly was no dream. God damn it, why can't I remember anything? Might not ever get out of this kingdom. All I can do is pray that some kind stranger can offer up some assistance as to where I am and where I could go. Maybe get some sort of direction from where I came from.
Oh, mama!
Your mama. I understand why. To be getting so emotional, I created the possibility of risking our capture and whatever fate the city's armed forces would decide for us. So far, you've been chased by the Royal Guard, and then forced through a sewer by a stranger who expects you to put your trust in him, with little to no explanation of what's going on. Well, I can only apologize so much for my last point. But the fact of the matter is, you wound up in some serious hot water. Right now, you need to focus on getting out of it. Thank you, Fraser. I needed that. I could tell. Though, I wasn't actually trying to hug you. I was trying to fasten this cloak around your neck so we can set up your disguise, but to each their own. I blush at the comment, but knowing we didn't really have time to mess around, I break out of my bashfulness and continue. With the cover of darkness on our side, we make our way through the different districts. The numerous beacons and torches we pass act as if to provide us a path to follow to the eastern gate. Fox's ear twitches as the cart rolls past us. In another demonstration of his acrobatic ability, he grabs me and flings us both over to the bush. We land on our feet, and he slowly presses us in line with the cart. Over the bush. We act quickly as I hear a whirring sound, watching a wooden gate slowly descend from the roofing of the tunnel entrance. I sprint after hearing the sounds of Fraser's footsteps behind me. As we're about to make it through the gate, I hear the sound of fabric going taut. Fuck, why did you look back? I told you to keep running. You already saved my ass once today. I'm not letting you do it again. Now run! Gods be damned. Frazier turns, bowing his head and breaks into a sprint, not looking back. I won't forget this, Bryn. I'll come back for you. I can say another word, a jolt of pain slams into the back of my head. My vision goes blurry, but even then I can't help but smile at my rewarded courage. I watch my friend get away safely as my body goes limp and succumbs to the grasping soldiers. The last thing I can feel is a burly wolf hoisting me over his shoulder to carry me away. I look around and notice the only thing that decorates it are a wooden grate acting as a makeshift window and a small table. Come on, you don't remember having fun building something like this before? What do you mean I built something like this? Get down from there! I drop down as instructed and look back at a wolf strolling past my cell. Skjold is mad at me! We pissed Skjold off! Oh, nipples. Who are you? Caldacy. Well, just that one fox. Wolf has a frown on his face as his interest in the conversation seems to dwindle in an instant. Oh yeah. And how is that Svanger fox doing? Well, physically he looked rather well, but I don't know how he really is. He got a little emotional when we talked. Let me guess, he gave you that old skitter speech about how me and the rest of my kind are the root of all evil. Not really, more so how some of the people here aren't exactly treated the best, even if they're the low-biting kind. I give the wolf rather angry stare, unhappy with the negative connotations his words carried. I'm honestly inclined to agree with him based on the threats your damn guards gave me. He leans in, dropping down to my level. I suggest you wait until you can see life here for yourself before you jump to assumptions, half-pint. He ends his remark with a snarl, making me shrink back a bit before he leans away and recomposes himself. Calder is mad! Listen, I wasn't there, so I can't comment as such. But we have taken into account what eyewitnesses said. I can assure you the guards who tried to arrest you, Null and Nud, will be dealt with appropriately. Although considering you ran away with a known fugitive, I can understand their skepticism. He takes a step back, clearly intent on changing the subject by his unnerved brow. At least you can think of it this way. You've met maybe 2 whole individuals since you got here. That's including me. There's bound to be someone who knows more about your kind. Regardless of our small bickering, I appreciate him trying to comfort me. Okay! Then my mind flashes back to my original conversation with Frazier. I know the fox had mentioned putting me in contact with a friend of his in the old town. It crossed my mind to ask the wolf if he is at all familiar with him, but given how sour he seems about the fox, it feels better to keep that card close to my chest for the time being. We're not besties with Calder or Skjold. Life is not worth living. Oh wait, no, actually it is, because titties. I'm certain we can find someone. That is if the trial goes well. Anyways, hiya. I'd already mentioned Fisk, but it's possible you would have met him if you didn't get off that cart. How do you mean? Well, when the guards came to me with a report, they told me that you and Frazier practically hitched a ride on a passing cart to get through the market square. That sound about right? Am I alright? Yeah! Yeah! I'm doing fine! Except for the fact that we're no longer besties with Calder and Skjold! That sound about right? Yeah, that's about right. Well, that cart was actually on its way to a factory Fisk owns. The old wolf was actually there at the time. He ain't the kindest to trespassers, so in reality, it's probably a good thing that my guards caught you when they did. I somehow doubt that. I mean, would you rather be turned into fertilizer? That's Go to look at him with shock only to see that signature smirk on his face. Where the fuck is Swiper No Swiping? Swiper No Swiping is currently drinking, I think. Teasing. He laughs and I turn back around to continue walking down the stairs. Feel him stiffen up, the pause concerning me as he finally utters out what he wanted to say. As much as I appreciate the counsel, I do suppose I should warn you about Astrid. Astrid? Did Fraser mention her to you? No, we didn't really talk about the council on an individual level. Why do you ask? Well, when you were brought back to the Spire, the guards stripped you of that cloak to make sure you weren't concealing anything dangerous. I had a chance to see it and recognize it as one of the cloaks we specifically made for the bears. I was curious because while the bears have their own lives and jobs, a lot of them assist us as soldiers. Astrid is the one responsible for overseeing that exchange. Oh, fuck. Oh, I see. So she's some kind of general? She's my war counselor. A brilliant strategist and battle-hardened mind, but she can be a bit crazy. How crazy are we talking? Where the hell is Scarface? We've waited nearly an hour for that chubby bastard. What could possibly be taking so long?
Yeah, definitely Swiper No Swiping.
Shouting cuts across our conversation as it echoes through the hall. The loud, murder-happy kind of crazy. She's certainly someone I don't want to meet. He raises a paw to his forehead and lets out a deep sigh, clearly not looking forward to the exchange that was about to come. May I suggest you two cut the chit-chat here and move along promptly? You're only going to make it worse by having them wait so long. After Sayor finishes, I watch as Calder silently agrees and steps forward. I'm sorry, but that was beautiful. I pictured a much worse outcome in preparation for this moment, but that last statement gives me hope. To begin, I must state that all of us present should be aware that out of everyone who has been questioned, no one has been able to identify the human's land of origin. His species is completely unknown to me. Council takes turns deliberating on the status of my species, and they all agree that they have never seen a human before either. As such, it is not out of the realm of possibility that he simply did not know our customs, or about the overarching problems our society is currently facing. It's certainly possible we haven't had travelers visit the actual city for a few winters. I'm not sold. Do you think it's possible that he was aware none of us would recognize his kind? You do raise a valuable point, dear sister. King Calder, the eyewitnesses who were questioned, were any of them non-Wolven? Why, yes. Multiple rodents, a few rabbits, and some of the otters were seen in the square at the time. They have all said they were unable to identify what he was. I see, so not even our own civilians could identify him. Interesting. According to records shared with us, you took off with the known thief Fraser, correct? The large wolf locks eyes with me, a look of distaste on his muzzle as he awaits my answer. That's correct, but it's a... We are under the impression that he's some powerful allies that have knowledge beyond our walls. Were any of them able to identify you? No, he was unable to do so, and I didn't meet anyone other than him after he came to my rescue. Most he believed I was some kind of naked mole rat. I think that's what he compared me to, at least. His distaste grows at my comment, but I'm drawn to the sound of Astrid dying of laughter in her chair. Oh, I hate that skinny bastard, but he never fails to make me laugh. Getting back to the topic at hand, the fox came to your rescue and you chose to flee with him.
Who's that big muscle cat mother on the left?
That big muscle cat mother on the left? Oh, are you talking about Sayor? It wasn't premeditated. When the guards tried to arrest me, they got very aggressive with me and I feared for my safety. I was simply presented with the option of running away with a friendly face and I decided to take it. The glance he gave me was awfully similar to when I defended Calder in our previous interaction. I can only imagine he's impressed I've kept myself composed so far. According to our reports, that is an accurate depiction of the events, Herr Sir Sayor. What of the guards who handled the arrest? Naw was promptly sent to a lake near with a black eye. Fraser had managed to throw an object hard enough at the lupine's face and it took him out of the chase. Nud was sent to guard a different area while more experienced guards took over the scene. Astrid laughs again, teary-eyed as the rest of the council is left looking unimpressed. I'll be having a word with Skjold myself on why novices were out there. Though Lady Astrid... Hein, may I remind you of the seriousness of this case? Especially considering the guards doubles our military force, who is directly under your oath of responsibilities. She takes a deep breath, composing herself as she continues. meaning this incident could be a reflection of how awful of a job you've been doing. His tone is cold, causing the fiery personality of the councilwoman to boil to the surface in turn. How dare you! You and I are both aware that should anything bad come in the way of the kingdom, I have the troops ready to go to war the second they're needed. But we haven't had to spread thin and constantly training if you were doing a better job with your oath, Sayor! Foreign relations and civilian diplomacy, my ass!
That's enough!
His paw clenches the arm of the chair and the wolves immediately look to their king.
He looks like Kratos' fursona.
He does! You were pointing that out, Axel. He does. Wait! Who looks like Kratos' fursona? Who looks like Kratos' fursona? Hein or Sayor? Because I'm pretty sure it isn't Calder. If you two want deliberation on a personal matter, we can wait until after this trial is complete, understood? Yes, my king. Understood. What happened after you escaped the guards? You and the fox didn't appear before anyone until the evening. Where did you go? But he calls the MC boy. A brief flashback comes to mind of Fraser, reminding me of when we discussed the sewer systems and his hideouts throughout the city. And now he'd send me to God if I were to betray him and reveal his secrets. Wait until the side had been broken with the pursuing guards before. I was taken down an alleyway. Then climbed onto some makeshift scaffolding and used the rooftops to sneak around patrols. Please work. Ensure we're improving rooftop and back alley patrols. I want to limit this activity going forward. I'm relieved as Heim raises his hand. Goodwill aside, it doesn't change the fact that we know nothing about this individual. Made a mockery of the guard and by extension, us. And, just in case anyone wasn't aware, human, would you like to tell us what you did when you were finally caught? Specifically, after you and Fraser had been caught in the tunnel leading to the outskirts. I grabbed Fraser from a guard and threw him under the gate, thus ensuring his escape. I suppose we can add assisting a fugitive to his charge list. The council shared looks of curiosity, trying to gauge what the others were thinking over the details of my arrest. Is there anything else we're missing, Your Highness? You look as if you're keeping something to yourself. I do have one more thing to share, actually. Bryn? My eyes meet the wolf's and I brace for whatever he could say. I'm wondering if you could be so kind to tell us a little about yourself, your homeland, your interests, your profession. He emphasized the last point more so than his other ones, attempting to distract the council. After you'd been arrested, a guard of mine had done a round of cells to report back on the state of the prisoners there. I was informed that he had to give you a verbal warning for climbing in that cell. So he told me afterward that kept my interest. Heard you whisper that you built something like this. I was wondering what you may have made and what you saw that brought up a memory like that, because there isn't much to get a detailed look from that height. Now all their eyes are on me again. Though rather strangely, out of everyone, Heim was the most interested. A paw was on his chin as he tried to study this statement in relation. Well, I'm not having the best luck recalling my past at the moment. The best I can tell you is the last thing I remember is being somewhere really cold and being flashed with this huge light before I ended up outside the city. But I do remember that I am a university student. A scholar? Yes, I remember that my place of study was a place for people to learn about machines, and even go as far as to make some of their own. I know to get to that level, I must have had some practice on smaller machines to know the ins and outs of them. I see. So this would happen to be something you made. I can ponder on what he meant. I watch him take out a familiar rectangular-shaped device. My phone! In all the chaos, I hadn't stopped to consider what they might have taken from me after I'd been placed in the cell. Calder tries to use it, intrigued after watching the screen come to life when pressing down on the device. It's quite comical watching him unintentionally press both volume buttons with his fingers. Or they're just simply too big for my phone. My eyes go wide as a flash hits his face and he removes it from his face quickly. Sire, may I see that device? Passes it over to him, and he looks a lot more interested than Calder was. Well, you see, I didn't make that myself, but it's a very common device back in my homeland. What does it do? Better question is, what can't it do? When it was first made, the intent was to be able to communicate with someone over long distance. But it's been improved and reworked an awful lot since then. Remarkable. Heim, do tell. Is this some... Human, why is it turned black? Turns device around and I can see that the screen has gone black. The battery must have ran out at this point. These devices have a limited supply of energy. Would you happen to know what I mean by that? Do you take me as some sort of idiot? It's now Njord's turn to chime in with laughter, humored by my take on the wolf's intelligence.
You saw the lightning and lanterns in the districts you ran through, did you not?
Now that you mention it, yeah, I did. My mind goes back to the specific totem I saw in the market square. One that emanated white light. How exactly does that work? Well, this conversation on what the human knows is extremely fascinating. Is it possible that we can get back to the matter at hand? Again! Fisk sets aside his passive interest in our discussion to stand with Sayor in his request. Both Heim and Calder readjust themselves before apologizing for their rambling. Sire, take everything into account. Is there any other testimony we need to hear, or can we move on to reaching a decision?
I have no more information to share, but I open the floor to anyone who has something to say.
Murmurs are exchanged, but a resounding series of silences indicate to me that there was nothing more to add. And may I go first? I'm surprised to see that she was the one wanting to go first. Her silence had been noticeable after the slight verbal confrontation she had with Sayor. I'm not sold. Human, your story is too situational for my liking. I believe there is merit in the guards' suspicions of you being a spy.
And your proposal, Lady Astrid?
Put the poor thing down! Yeah, go ahead and ask. But goddamn! I'll be right back, and I'll answer your question.
Who's that big muscle cat on the right?
And I'm back, and that big muscle cat is Heim. Thought I already said that. It's Heim. Put the poor thing down. My eyes went wide as she slowly, casually suggested my execution. Not only would it save the headache, but it's a message of strength. Whoever sent him will realize their strategy is subpar to our standards. We can push the narrative of our success over to them. When no one can speak, Holm bursts out of his chair and looks across at Astrid. Dear sister.
You can't be serious.
She didn't. Deadly, but by all means, rant away with your criticisms and thoughts of fear. Sister, if we progress with your idea, it would become a public spectacle. The Wolven Society would be forced to wonder what the reasons are and query what the potential fallout of this decision would imply for our kingdom. That's not to mention that this display was in front of the civilians. It'll be another show of aggression on non-Wolven culture, and will continue to undo the actions members of the council have done to begin improving relations. Astrid, there has not been an execution in these lands since we came to power. If we go back on that, it will only serve to undo everything we've worked on. I admire the wolf's attitude. From his appearance, I can't really see him as the argumentative type, but I appreciate his rationality, especially considering it's countering her suggestion to kill me. She rolls her eyes but ponders on the smaller wolf's statements. I'm not backing down from my suggestion, brother, but what do you suppose we do with him? As a healer, I'm against the idea of taking life whenever an alternative is possible. That is why I would like to propose a more permanent residency in the Spire. With the human imprisoned, a life is spared, and we are put into a situation where we can monitor him for a longer period of time. Just to assess the possibility of a future for him within this kingdom. Time seems to slow as both myself and the council wait for the next person to speak. With the rattling of jewelry, I watch Njord rise up from his chair and walk the center walkway. And what might you be doing? It's called pacing, Sage. It helps me think. I thought I told you not to. I refuse to ignore the reasoning behind Lady Astrid's decision. There's certainly some merit to the idea. Simply getting rid of this creature would secure the safety and standing of our kingdom. However, I must agree with Lord Holm that the act is indeed a bit barbaric by today's standards. As such, King Calder. He turns to the wolf, meeting him eye to eye before giving his suggestion. I too will put my vote toward imprisoning the human in the Spire. This would support his idea of the human having a potential future in this kingdom. Though should we find him to have lied at any point, we won't be in a position that could harm us, provided he was given freedom. That, and it certainly wouldn't hurt to use him as a potential bargaining base, should anything happen to our people as a result of all this. Holm has a smile plastered on his muzzle as his idea seems to be garnering reinforcement. Certainly can't say that I'm happy about the idea of being imprisoned again, but it beats the alternative. At least with home, I have the possibility of one day being free. Calder looks over to me. As our eyes meet, I see a sadness in them as if he feels bad about this course of action. King Calder. Eyes are now on Heim as it's his turn to take the floor. He stands up and steps closer to me. You interest me, human. It's not every day the gods send us a stranger, much as a scholar with a particular knack for machinery. As such, I have a proposition for both you and the council. He turns his head back to speak to his fellow members, and I brace for whatever insane suggestion the chubby wolf might offer. I would like to propose that the human be surrendered to my custody. We'll give him a chance to show us what he can do for our society. If he speaks true about his ability with machines, I'd like him to work at one of my factories. Council once again breaks out into murmurs as Calder seems to perk up as a suggestion. I'd like to see what he knows, and where possible, I'd like to put those smarts to use and see if we can't make something out of them. As I look around the room, I can see there is more than one wolf who's amused by the idea, and if he fails to be of use to us, or we find evidence to the contrary of his story, I have no qualms about putting him away in the Spire, whether that be as a prisoner or for an exchange. How about the looks of Fisk and Holm? They're hesitant to the idea, but the mention of my imprisonment, should I fail, seems to calm them. Human, if Heim is successful in his proposal, what are some things you think you can make? I'd like to ensure that what you're capable of isn't subpar to our Wolven scholars' inventions. Take a moment to consider what I could possibly make. I need to see what I have to work with. This world still feels somewhat alien to me, but I do remember that back at my university I was building something big. Something that required a lot of heavy metals and wiring. I'm no stranger to getting stuck in, so if you can point me in the right direction, I can start drafting up a plan immediately. Well then, if Heim and his boys can get you all situated, can you guarantee that these machines will benefit all of us? I'm not too interested in giving Heim another moneymaker. There's a chuckle from some of the other council members, causing Heim to once again pout at their call-out. If you tell me what you need, I can certainly promise to do my best. He gives me a warm smile. King Calder. I'm happy to vote for Heim's idea. I think having an outside perspective who's willing to work with us could be valuable in looking for alternative ways to improve our current situation. He gives the older wolf an affirmative nod. As I look around the room at the members, I tally the results. At current, it's an even score as to whether I'm going to be imprisoned or set free to work. If anything, I'm grateful that the councils have agreed to not entertain the idea of my death. Sayor, would you care to go next? Rather stoically, he rises from his chair. Instead of taking the floor or approaching me, he remains standing, arms crossed behind his back. My vote goes with the king. Whatever decision he finds the most appropriate, I will back it. Horny. The butterflies in my stomach flutter as he goes to sit back down. A quiet sigh escapes me. With my back against the wall, I had no other option but to put my faith in the Wolven King. Human. As a traveler myself, I can understand what it's like to end up in lands that you may not expect. I too know the pain of offering someone else's of offending someone's customs, even if it was unintentional. He stands from his throne and looks down at me. Bryn, I don't sense dishonesty in your words, nor any harbored anger, despite the actions that have taken you to this place and time. I don't like to lose it. Getting emotional can't always help you. A few of them smile in response to my composed outward appearance. While I may be worried internally, I try to stand strong as I deliver the sentencing. In addition to your willingness to agree with the work proposal, I will be enacting this with a majority vote of the council. I nearly fall over from the confirmation, bracing myself on the stand before looking back up at them. However, with the clause that if any of the testimony given today proves to be false, we will reconvene to look into alternative options for you. Sir, just letting the runt go! You question the king? Even after the decision was supported by the majority? No, Sayor. King Calder, with all due respect, there needs to be some form of protective measure to accompany this decision. If we let him roam free with no surveillance, we run the risk of him running amok if he reunites with the fox. Yeah. Is it mostly the same from here on out? Oh, hiya. Meager and another friend of mine by the name of Skjold used to get up to all kinds of mischief over here. What about it? Take a look into the window and see the freshly baked goods on display. They look delicious, and if the queue out the door is anything to go by, they must be good. Oh, shit.
Good times.
Certainly sounds like it. Oh, no. Please don't hate us forever, Skilled. Please don't hate us forever. Please don't hate us forever, Skilled. I turn around to see who raised a question to my actions, only to be met by an unfamiliar face. Take a second to study this person, only to see that they were a very large and portly wolf. Oh, I don't know if you happened to catch a glimpse of it, but there was a barrel that was rolling across the way. I just stepped in to stop it and return it to its rightful owner. Can't quite put my finger on it, but the more I look at this wolf, the more I think that he stands out among the others I've met so far. I do apologize, but I haven't seen you before. I'm a bit confused as to who you are. I'm Huskarl Skilled, servant to the king. Oh, right, now I know. You've been mentioned to me before. Last I checked, the council made it clear that you were only to be out with an assigned escort. I've lost a slight bit as he continues to scold me. Thankfully, it's quickly interrupted by the sound of some footsteps coming closer. I realize that both Calder and Gear are on top of me.
Where the hell did you go?
Supposedly, the half-pint ran to help a fellow out with some of his inventory. By the gods, did you happen to see that, or are you just... Takes a moment for the wolf to register who's standing before him.
Skilled?
Yeah, always slow to realize. How are you, Your Highness?
Better for seeing you, brother. How are you on this fine day?
I'm good. Personally enjoying the quiet we're having in the city today, using it to catch up on some much-needed paperwork, too.
Well, I'm glad to hear you've got a day to yourself to enjoy.
What might you three be up to today?
Work on behalf of Lord Heim as it goes. I'm sure you're aware, he's agreed to take the human under his wing at one of the factories. Even Bryn here isn't exempt from Heim's dress code.
Skilled puts a hand on his belly and lets out a good chuckle before reflecting on the news. I hope you like being dressed up all fancy, human. I'm never going back to wearing those tight shirts. To be fair, I'd much rather be dressed fancy than to have my chest dressed in cream cake. I'm still sad. The smile is wiped from his face, and Calder can't help but to erupt in laughter at my roast. You dick! Is this seriously the first thing you told him about me? Pretty much. Unbelievable.
Come now, Skilled, it's just simply for teasing. Listen, Gear's back from a very long mission, and it's been an even longer time since the three of us had an opportunity to do something together. How about you take off to get those reports, and you come find us as soon as it is, and we'll go out for a pint. On me, of course.
He finishes it with a wink. Skilled fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. Now that is an idea I can get behind. I'll see you soon then, brother. With a nod, the two separate. It's not long after they part when we finally make it to the tailor. Pleasantly surprised by the size of the shop, and I'm very interested in what types of clothing I may find once I step inside. My heart still hurts. Skilled hates us! He hates us forever. Well, ain't this a lovely bit of deja vu? Rather quickly, the stranger forces me against the wall, a paw covering my mouth. You've really got to learn when to keep quiet around me, or is this just another attempt to have my hand in your mouth? I lick his paw, prompting him to pull it back and shake it. Oh, that's so mature. Believe me, if I wasn't so happy to see you right now, I'd be giving you a ball ache over how immature your flirting is. Both stare at each other, quickly letting out a chuckle as we relax for a moment. Well, I'm glad to see you're holding up okay. Where'd you get this fancy new piece? Picked it up from that shop over there. Sama's? Really fancy boutique? Damn, I knew they were setting you free, but I didn't think they'd be looking after you so well, too. Yeah, some of the council weren't too happy with me going free, but after Heim proposed me working for them, a lot of them fell into agreement with them. Hold it there a moment. They're putting you to what? To work? I told them about my past and got around to showing them a device from my homeland. Heim was the most interested, hence why he wanted me to come work for him. See if my brain can be of any use to him and all that. Damn, talk about walking into the wolves' den. Wait, what are you doing back in the city so soon? I thought you took off. Nah, not really. Guards
Oh shit, it's Swiper the fox.
can't really do much when you hit the outer stretches of the forest. Seriously, you ran that far away? Yeah, at that point, they're officially in the wild. Let's just say that people aren't as friendly with them outside the kingdom as they would be inside it. Interesting. That's why a lot of us rebel folks set up safe houses out there. I've also got a few set up in the shanty town just outside the walls. The guards know the residents of that area aren't the biggest fans of the crown, so they don't tend to cooperate as much. Even then, there's a strong chance they'll be left alone if they can't find you. So, is that where you went back to after the search died down? That's right. I went to that quaint little tavern that my friend Grim works at. You remember I mentioned him, right? Yeah, he's your smart friend that might know something about my kind, isn't he? Hitting the nail on the head. Glad to see your noggin wasn't too scrambled by them. I didn't want him to feel bummed out, so I tried to downplay the treatment I received before waking up in that cell. Believe me, it sounded worse than it actually was. See the fox's expression drop. I guess that didn't work as well as I had hoped. Wait, that still doesn't answer my question. What are you doing back? Isn't it really dangerous for you right now, you know, being one of the most wanted criminals in the whole kingdom? Well, if you must know, I actually came back to get you. Seriously? Well, duh, I promised you I would, didn't I? Swiper, no swiping. Oh no! You did? I just wasn't expecting it to be so soon after everything. Well, normally I wouldn't have come back to get you as soon as I had. But after I found out about the council's decision to give you some form of freedom, I was wondering whether they'd set you up for accommodation. The timing worked out perfectly. I had my ears to the ground and found out there was a huge riot going on today. My plan was to use that to my advantage while all the guards were distracted. I would see how far the sewers could get me to you, and then we'd sneak out. Speaking of which, you didn't happen to tell them about the sewer system, now did you? Mind flashes back once more to the ominous threat he gave me long ago. Don't worry, I remembered. I lied to them and said we used the rooftops to evade capture. Good job, good job. He lowers his eyebrows and I begin to worry less for my safety. Yes, this is perfect. Now they're going to be preoccupied with this ride for hours so we can slip away with no issues. Wait, hold on now. Where are we going to go? I'm going to take you to Grimm's, get you all acquainted, see if we can pick his brain for knowledge to your kind. Maybe we can get that overdue drinking. But what about the guards? Fraser, even you said there's not a guarantee they won't come for me. I'm fully known to them now. He ponders for a moment and lets out a sharp exhale. Stop a bit for the ad. Good drinking. You know what? Chocolate cake. Chocolate cake sounds good right now. Chocolate cake sounds very fucking good right now. Like, doesn't chocolate cake sound very fucking good right now? Chocolate cake sounds so fucking good. I have a plan in mind, but I need both of you and Grim present for me to go over it with you and see if it'll work. I wouldn't waste your time with a dangerous plan if I didn't think it had any chance of working. Besides, with the trouble they have on their hands right now, we'll have plenty of time to sneak out and get you back before anyone suspects a thing. I know, and you haven't given me any reason to distrust you either. If anything goes wrong, are you sure you'll be able to get me back here? I don't want to risk anyone else getting hurt after the whole shitstorm that was my arrival here. I promise. Then you take the lead. I'm a little nervous, but if there's even a slight chance someone knows about humans, then I have to try. As I watch the fox prop his head up, raise my hands and get a grasp of my own cloak. Feel the extending fabric form into a hood and lift it up to obscure my face. Come with me. The Vulpine leads me over to another alleyway. He informs me of the specific sewer path we're going to be taking. Supposedly, it's one of the only pathways that directly connects to the outer layer of the walls, and the shantytown just outside it. As he pops the grate and allows me to go first, I climb down the ladder. This time I go in with a greater peace of mind and try not to do a repeat of last time. As soon as my feet hit the solid ground, I wait for the fox to get down here. It's good to see that you're learning, pal. He lands ever so gracefully and continues to lead me through the sewer paths. After coaching me through the correct turns, he jumps until we make it out on the other side. Yeah. Make it to the other side. Wait, did I read that? Yeah. Sweet freedom! You can say that again. Sweet freedom! I let out a quiet chuckle while Fraser reseals the grate, and the two of us begin to walk after the shanty town. I only had a chance to glimpse it when I first got here, but now I can see it all in full detail. While the majority of the homes and businesses were damaged or neglected in some way, they're still fully usable and maintained by the residents who use them. Are there a lot of people who live outside the walls? Yeah, there are. This town circles the entire kingdom. There's plenty of homes and businesses that cater to people who want to live away from the crown. Well, it's still like a community around them. Damn, this must be quite a busy townstead. Say, Phrase, how long has your friend had this tavern? Oh, I couldn't tell you. He and his partner have had that place since before I was born, pal. Wow, I'm guessing it's quite the popular little tourist spot. I may be biased here, but I say it's one of the best taverns in the kingdom. It's a bonus that the place is really friendly to strangers. He shoots me a wink at that last point as we continue to walk the streets, taking turn after turn until we finally reach a well-kept cottage-style building. It's situated in the front of an expansive tree line and immediately stands out from the other buildings that decorate the street. The warm light in the interior of the building acts as a warm welcome as opposed to an attempt to stand out and show off. There she is. Get ready. Is she? Oh, the tavern. He looks me over and smiles as we get closer to the building. I can notably hear the sound of music getting louder and louder with each
Wait,
passing
haven't
step.
we been to this part already?
It's different. Fraser can't help pick up the pace. I watch the fox rush with excitement and quickly try to match his speed. As we make our way through the door, Fraser shoves it open with a harsh push. I'm home! He shouts sarcastically as we step inside the tavern. There's a few cheers and some hellos from some of the patrons as they see the fox strut in. Behind the counter, I can see a large horse who has just put on a warm smile upon seeing the fox. Fraser, my boy! A loud voice cuts across the room, and within seconds, I watch my friend get rushed by a goat? Grim! It took him a moment to realize who had run up and grabbed him, but upon feeling the horns pressed on his body, he quickly returned the hug. Oh, so this is... Oh, hello. The old goat takes a second glance upon hearing my voice, looking to speak to me. Good gods! He nearly falls over upon seeing me, as I don't think he was expecting it. You're the fellow the guards arrested the other day! I am indeed. Apologies in advance if it causes any startle. He lets go of the fox and runs over to me, pulling me into a hug. I'm taken aback from the sudden openness, but I appreciate the warm gesture. I look over to Fraser, but he just mouths over to me that this is just something he does. Not wanting to be rude, I return the gesture and feel his hair brush up against my face. Honey, come quick, this is him! Horse puts down the glass he was cleaning and makes his way over to us, his eyes spaced a little wider. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Hang on, let me check something. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I am going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I think Vocalist already knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, I think Vocalist already knows what I'm talking about. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to keep it shut. I'm not going to say anything about it. Really? No jokes here. Fraser, is this really him? Grim Gilheim, meet the human. Bryn. Oh, gosh, where are my manners? Bryn, I'm Grim... Erzaller. And this handsome stallion next to me is my husband, Gilheim. You can't just call me Guy. You can just call me Guy. It's a lot simpler. Oh, God, he's doing the face. Ah! Grim turns and gives him a bit of a flabbergasted look to his partner.
What? I was never the fancy type, and you knew that the second you met me. Hun, we are literally meeting the person who saved our son from being arrested by prison guards. The gods only know what they would have done to him if they'd caught him. I think you'd at least give the human a proper introduction now. Huh? I'm sorry. Would you mind repeating that? Oh, me wanting my partner to introduce himself? No! The bitches before that. Oh, about Okay, Grim. Guys, is there any chance you can go fix me and Bryn a pint of honey mead? We have some business to discuss, so we're gonna get comfy. Shoots daggers at the goat, who blushes in embarrassment. Of course. Come on, honey. He grabs the horse by the arm and yanks him away. Fraser does the same to me, but takes us to a table in the corner of the bar, far out of earshot from the other patrons. So, I have so many questions. I can't help but blurt it out, unintentionally cutting him off. I don't like telling people about them because it risks them in danger. So, any question about my dads that relate to me, I ain't answering.
And then they're gonna fuck.
He gives me a stern look, and I take that as my sign to not push for more information. Okay, that's fair. If it relates to you, feel free not to answer, but do you think I can ask you about how those two came about and set up shop here? Well, it's a little personal, but... Oh, the days of my youth. I watch Fraser jump as a surprisingly stealthy goat is able to sneak up on us and pull up a chair. I'd be more than happy to tell you. The Vulpine pulls a face, knowing at this point there's no way he can stop the old goat from going off on a rant. I'm not originally from the lands of Caledonia, actually. I hail from a land across the sea. I came here quite a few years ago after King Fimbulventur had gone on an expedition to make contact with some of the villages along the kingdom's coastline. Back home, I learned cartography from some of the finest cartographers this side of the continent. It was actually the king who had offered me a job to work alongside the royal family as a Wolven clan's cartographer. Oh wow, have you traveled a lot over the years? Oh, me and Gilheim have gone all over. He was a traveler when we first met, you know. He'd got a job assisting with deliveries from businesses in the city to a certain resident in the castle. Oh, really? Don't suppose you've got any tips for working with him, do you? Stretch beforehand, make sure you're on time, especially if you're working for Heim. Guy shouts over to us from the corner of the bar as he pulls another draft. He carries 2 mugs over, sets one down in front of me and then the other in front of Fraser. Goes over to his husband and gives him a kiss on the forehead. I'll hold the floor down. You enjoy the company. Try not to bore them too much, though. Grim can only laugh at his partner's statement before turning back to our conversation. He went on to tell us that in his youth he worked alongside the council. He created maps and guides that helped set up trade lines and gained a navigational sense of different villages and cities that neighbor the kingdom. Grim was seen as a valuable member to the society, for the simple reason that they were able to expand and improve the condition of the kingdom. In the time I spent working with the council, I'd had numerous instances where I bumped into Gilheim. Oh my god! We formed a close bond and were inseparable. We'd have lunch together, talk about the places we traveled to, and eventually we'd fall in for each other. Sorry, that face. Though despite my love for my job, I could only do it for so long as my body was able to maintain itself. Unfortunately, while working for the council, I injured my back pretty badly. Me wanting to push the limits of my older age did not go too well. He lets out a slight chuckle before patting his belly. It's also why I don't have my slim physique anymore. Fraser can't help but roll his eyes a tad as he sees the goat getting lost in the details. But from years of work, I saved up quite the pretty penny. Thanks to my early retirement, due to my new limitations, I tried to think of what I wanted to do since I was essentially a free man. And that's when Gilheim suggested that we open up our own little business. In our years of traveling, we always stayed at taverns and inns and loved the feeling the atmosphere and community provided us. So when we began to look for a big enough building to accommodate a dream and found this humble abode in the old town, we took it right away. We've never looked back since. So wholesome! Business has been good. It's a little quiet with the recent events, but we never have to worry about trouble thanks to our lovely boy over here. To hide his blush, Fraser grabs his stein and takes a large swig from his drink. And given the guards don't really bother us, we can still keep our doors open to visitors, like you, for example.
Can't help but smile at his welcoming tone. I now take my turn to try some of the mead. Oh wow, this is good. I go back and take a second swig, feeling it go down smoothly. Well, I'm very glad you're enjoying our brew. It's a passion project of Guy's, but that's enough about us. Bryn, I would love to hear your story if you're happy to share. Grim, that's actually why we're here. Oh? Bryn here's a human. So far, everyone he's met hasn't been able to identify his kind or where he came from. We're wondering if we can pick your brains for a bit. If you know anything about it, then maybe I can even go as far as to help him get home. I see. Human, you said. Gets up from the table and walks away, pacing back and forth, trying to think of the right words. I've never actually seen one in person, but the word does sound familiar on some strange level. Traveled to many lands, all with such rich history and folklore. I'm certain that I must have found something somewhere on it. I've documented almost everything I've learned in various books and journals. That sounds promising. Do you know which books you used for it? I'm sorry, so long ago that I can't really recall the exact one. I know. I'm bad at speaking English, apparently. I try not to let my disappointment show, but hold on to the little optimism I have left, provided the goat is successful. Grim turns and looks over to me, the same smile still on his face. I'll need to check my study first, see what I have on hand. Bryn, they have you staying in the castle right now, do they not? Yeah, the king has me staying in one of the private rooms. It's got books upon books in there. One of the studies? Damn, he is putting you up. I'm sorry your initial plan didn't work, my boy. What I can do is ever so slightly tweak it and possibly have something in mind for the both of you. He then turns to me, locking eye contact with me as he gave me a promise. Bryn, you saved my son, and I will never forget that. You can rest assured that I'm going to help you with this. Now, I'm going to need some time to go through my books, see if I can find anything that can help you. In the meantime, Bryn, keep up the good behavior and see just how many freedoms you can get while inside the castle. Give you free reign to roam the castle facilities. You'll find a library there, and I know for a fact that some of my books are still there. You can find any with my name, please don't hesitate to grab them and go through them. Got a great debt to repay you, but for now, how about another round? I smile at the offer and certainly don't refuse it. The second the stein is brought over to me, I take a large sip and continue enjoying the company, now being reinvigorated with the airtight plan. As we sit and talk, Gilheim finishes with his customers and brings a round over for himself and his partner. Doors open once again and I see a hooded fellow step inside, walking over to another side of the bar. Bear with me for a second. The fox finishes his drink and seemingly follows a stranger over to a different table. You two are lovely. Why, thank you, lad. We're a little unorthodox, but I couldn't ask for a better family. How did that come about, if you don't mind me asking? You know, you two and Fraser and all. We'll let Fraser tell you the specifics in his own time. It's a very closely guarded secret that he doesn't just tell anybody. What I can tell you is that us being his dads wasn't always official. He used to be this cute little street urchin. We didn't know much about him at first, but we noticed he was a lot scrawnier than some of the other kids around his age. And every so often he'd pass by our tavern, snooping on what the guests were eating. We figured he wasn't getting enough to eat, so we started to make extra for him and invited him in for a free meal. But I'll never forget the day we found him. The poor boy's roughing it most nights, and after that, we took him in. Made it very clear that he was free to leave whenever he wanted. If no one else would help him, we made sure that he knew that we'd always be in his corner. It's so fucking wholesome! They are so wholesome! I have known Grim and Gilheim as a couple for maybe 15 minutes. I have known them for maybe 15 minutes. And if anything were to happen to them, well, let's just say the Kingdom of Oxheimer wouldn't be a kingdom anymore. It would be a pile of dirt. Kaboom! Before we knew it, we were taking care of him like he was one of our own. I still can't forget about the first time he called you Dad. He leans in during this part, and I'm already anticipating some humor to come from the horse. It's a lover's day. A lot of our regulars know Fraser by this point, as he helps out with the paperwork for the shop, order lists, income, you name it. That is great with numbers, so we sat at the bar with his own little world pen and paw. Grim's serving this one otter a pint, but halfway through it, it stops, and we realize we've run out of it. While Grim is doing his best to salvage the exchange, he turns to Fraser and asks, Fraser, can you add berry cider to the drinks list, please? That boy in the sweetest voice you've ever heard goes, Sure thing, Dad. Two of them can't help but chuckle. In the wise words of Zangief from Wreck-It Ralph, and also Street Fighter, but I'm talking about the Wreck-It Ralph version, not the Street Fighter version. In the wise words of Zangief from Street Fighter in the movie Wreck-It Ralph, just because you are a bad guy doesn't mean you are a bad guy. They explained to me that the young fox desperately tried to correct himself, much to the many oohs and ahs of the patrons. Honestly, you think he's red now, swear that shade of crimson is burned into my eyes. As Grim wipes a tear from his eye, the fox comes back over, puzzled as to what we were talking about. Oh, nothing, your dads were just telling me some very interesting childhood stories about you. Shoot him a wink and his face immediately drops. Okay, well, it's lovely to see you both again. We need to make a move. Oh, already? Yeah, I was speaking to one of my contacts just then. Nearly got the riot under control, and if they do that before you're back, we're screwed. So come on, let's go. It's so wholesome! It's so wholesome! Not wanting to waste time, I turn to his parents and thank them for their hospitality and efforts to help me. Quickly stand with the fox and we rush out the door. We lift our hoods once again to blend in. I feel like it's a trade-off. You either get wholesome gay family or Skjold's friendship. Which is more worth it? Wholesome gay family or Skjold's friendship? Hang on. I'm going to put that as a poll in the server. I'm going to put that as a poll in the server, in the Discord server. How about both? We can't have both. I'm going to put it as a poll. What's more wholesome? Alright. It's in the server. We return through the same tunnel, and after a bit of sneaking, we're able to make it into the alleyway where he initially found me. Calder will probably be back here before you know it, so I should probably take off. Yeah, you probably should. Want to risk you getting caught. You remember what I said about my dads, right? Yeah, I do, and it goes without saying that I'll honor that secret and take it to the grave with me. He looks at me, contemplating his next move for a second before deciding to quickly pull me in for a hug. Thanks. He lets me go and gives himself a quick stretch. Maybe I'll tell you about it sometime. Let's focus on the task at hand for now. Take care of yourself, Bryn. We can't have both! Can we ever have both? We can never have both. And that is everything. To be continued. Why can't we have both? Anyways, FVNs have taught us that we can never have both. Anyways, stay safe, have a good night. And I typed that in wrong. And I will see you all tomorrow. Both hands, we can neither hold both Grim and Gilheim, or we can hold Skjold. We can only have both. We can only have one or the other. bye.